Show. Thank you, everyone. Now going over to the Culture Pod podcast, you have J.K. Rowling beating Scotland's new compelled speech law, aka hate crime law. Now this comes thanks to J.K. Rowling's ex-Twitter account, and she has been one of the most outspoken advocates of free speech, and also she is pushing against what is culturally known as trans ideology. So J.K. Rowling is of the opinion that you should not be compelled to use someone's what is commonly referred to as preferred pronouns, which I believe Harvard says there's now 75 different pronouns, which if you go on LinkedIn, you'll probably see about half of them. I can't keep track of them at all. There's a lot of them. English teachers are pissed. I'll just say that much because, back in my day, there meant, 2 or 3 people, not one. So the grammar alone is driving some teachers up the wall, I'm sure. Not the teachers that are allowed to live with TikTok, but I partially digress. Now, J.K. Rowling linked to an article where the police have said that they will not arrest J.K. Rowling. Now, J.K. Rowling said before this article, she said, quote, "I hope every woman in Scotland who wishes to speak up for the reality and importance of biological sex will be reassured by this announcement, and I trust that all women, irrespective of profile or financial means, will be treated equally under the law," unquote. Which, unfortunately, I kind of suspect not, just because of resource allocation. If you don't have a lot of money, you probably can't fight the charges that are brought before you. And one of the reasons why I suspect they didn't want to arrest her, because people would be royally pissed, pun moderately intended, because I think did the Queen or someone in Britain give her a trophy or something, or knight her, something to that effect. But still, instances where there are a couple of people on the planet who still believe in free speech. They might not be the loudest on social media, but they are certainly out there. Now, going to this article, and again, it went, as youth might say, viral. This got more likes than I think anything I've covered on the show this year. So J.K. Rowling on X Twitter got 3.8 million views and 107,000 likes. 107,001 like, thanks to me. I mean, probably they actually don't tell you the last 3 numbers. They just tell you 107K. But point made. Now going to the article, this is coming from BBC.com, and they note that J.K. Rowling hate law post not criminal, police say. This is brought to us thanks to Megan Boner and Katie Scott over at BBC Scotland News. Which, of all the countries to not like free speech, I would not have guessed Scotland. I thought, granted my knowledge of it is mostly comical and through skit comedy, but I wouldn't think they'd be all sensitive and acquiescing to 1984 thought control and newspeak. But again, there are also those people who get into power and do whatever they darn well want to do. Now, the police said that they received complaints, but no action will be taken. Now, J.K. Rowling said, quote, "If they go after any woman for simply calling a man, I'll repeat that woman's words and they can charge both of us at once," unquote. Which, that's pretty risky in terms of J.K. Rowling, because she would be liable and she can get in trouble. But putting her neck out like that could inspire others to, and I know this word is used well too often, or far too often these days, but in this case, I think you could argue the word brave, because you could seriously be arrested. You look at some places like Canada, where they will actually arrest you for making fun of their political leaders, for memes, which unfortunately they're starting to do that in the United States as well. And if you misgender someone in some countries, there are some instances where you will be jailed. Truth be told, in Canada, if a child of yours identifies as something else and you do not affirm them, they will kidnap, their word is take your child from you so that they can transition the child. That should horrify everyone in terms of paternal rights. Now, going back to the BBC article, they note that the Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland Act of 2021 makes it an offence to behave in a threatening or abusive manner with the intention of stirring up hatred based on disability, religion, sexual orientation, transgender identity, or being intersex, unquote. Now, they also say stirring up hatred based on race, color, nationality, or ethnicity was already illegal in Great Britain under the Public Order Act of 1986, but is now included in the new law, unquote. Which, that was so close to the dystopian novel by George Orwell. That law really should have been passed in 1984, let's be honest. That would, perhaps that would have been too on point, but it should be. Now, they say that since the law has come into effect Monday earlier this week, police in Scotland have received more than 3,000 complaints, which isn't enough. Now, perhaps the instance where you're glad you're not seeing this picture in picture. They say Katie Reeves, a trans woman, was recently appointed to UN Women UK delegate, was mentioned by Ms. Rowling in a previous thread on X. The author claimed that this is BBC's words, not mine. Ms. Reeves, again, biological man, quote, switched from a straight man to a lesbian at age 48, unquote. Ms. Reeves told the BBC knew that she was very disappointed in the Scotland police. So this individual was disappointed someone was not arrested for not agreeing with their ideology. Which, again, should tell you exactly where they stand on the moral high ground. Or low ground, what would be more apt? The ditch? The gutters? Something to that effect. Again, believe whatever you want, but you should not be, my 3 cents, used to be 2 cents, but 40-year hyperinflation thanks to the government, you shouldn't be compelling anyone's speech, yet alone arresting them for not agreeing with you. Now, going down, you also say that, he, Mr. Reeves, this is BBC's words. So they say she said, the vernacular alone, the grammar is complex to say the least. J.K. Rowling is a bully, and this act is designed to stop bullying, and if they're not going to enforce it, it's going to be very disappointing. She listed me and other trans people along with some sex offenders and put it out to 14 million of her followers, unquote. So this individual is also concerned about protecting the feelings of sex offenders. What? Who gives a damn about their feelings? Those people are the most mentally and morally vacuous of all. If you're a convicted sex offender, you should be mocked in public. And yet this person is worried that, you're making fun of these sex offenders. What? Mentally vacuous, to say the least. Now, of course, Neves said the story that is published all over the world is, quote, misinformation about me. Which, then you also have a couple of Prime Minister, this is hilarious. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak earlier backed Ms. Rowling's stance in the UK, had a proud tradition of free speech, but would not be drawn on whether he supported her free speech, saying it was, quote, not right for me to comment on police matters, individual matters. He added, quote, we should be criminalizing people saying common sense. We should not be criminalizing people saying common sense things about biological sex. Clearly, that isn't right. We have a proud tradition of free speech. So why not say, just black and white, just say, Miss J.K. Rowling is right. Her speech is protected. Because again, unpopular speech doesn't need to be protected. That's useless in terms of necessity of protection. It's going to be the default. Very few people are ever going to get in trouble for saying the sky is blue. Although these days, who knows? They'd probably say, oh no, it's blue, but on some days it has white clouds. So inevitably you probably piss off a couple of people or annoy a couple of people. But again, when you go, and again, I know this is another country, and that's what's uniquely about the United States. We have the Bill of Rights and things such as the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. But one of these is where, again, we read the founding father documents, free speech matters most when it's unpopular. Because again, that's when the mobs and the governments will attack them. That's really the speech that needs to be protected, whether we agree with it or not. I don't care what the subject is. Now, scrolling down more and more, it'd be interesting to see, let's see here, rate relief, what the long-term implications is. Because again, for now, J.K. Rowling has won this one. And I suspect when we go to the comments, we'll see maybe a 50-50 split. Because again, this has become a whole cultural and political issue in the United States, even though personally I would have thought, well, maybe 30 years ago when most Americans are proud patriots, they knew what the Bill of Rights was and the founding fathers' intentions were. I mean, ideally 100% of Americans should believe everyone deserves free speech. Compelled speech is illegal. You can't force someone to call you anything. I mean, no, it's ridiculous. However, we've had an influx of a lot of ideologies that are not American in the United States throughout the years. Yuri Bezmenov from Russia was certainly right when he talked about the methodologies that could destroy the United States by infecting our culture. Now, one of the first comments comes from Wolf, which I was going to say, A+ for marketing. The profile picture is in fact of a wolf, and the wolf, their name actually has a wolf emoji in there. although I don't think wolves can type, so we'll say it's alleged wolf, says, quote, what J.K. Rowling is doing is truly remarkable. She's testing the limits of the new law, knowing every time Police Scotland doesn't arrest her, it sets the precedent for others to speak freely. And if she is arrested, Husman Yazov will be forced out of office that week. Bravo, J.K., unquote, getting 2.9 thousand likes. Brad Turgenston says, quote, notice how BBC still calls them hate crime tweets, even though they're not criminal. LOL, the Beeb, world-class journalism. Unquote, getting 1.7 thousand likes. You also have the rabbit hole saying, quote, remember that free speech can and will be weaponized as an excuse to censor, unquote, getting 1.6 thousand likes, including myself. Because, again, read any book, it astonishes me. I mean, maybe you shouldn't be too surprised that the public school system or the education system in the United States doesn't give you great works of art to actually read and learn about, like Animal Farm and George Orwell's brilliant works of art. But these top two books being perhaps Animal Farm in 1984, I mean, there's never an instance in history when government censoring their citizens is a good thing, or disarming their citizens is a good thing. And historically speaking, that's usually is right before the worst things in history happen, which, spoiler alert, is always because of governments. Going down, you also have the women in Scotland saying, quote, thank you for forcing this issue. Let us hope police training will now reflect this so that no woman is persecuted going forward, unquote, getting 1.3 thousand likes. Recall Katie Hobbs says, quote, they don't ban hate speech, they ban speech that they hate, unquote, by Elon Musk, getting 322 likes. Mendy Howie says, quote, every woman in Scotland hopefully can find the courage through J.K. Rowling's post to voice their opinion about biological facts and the importance of women's rights and children's safety. Take this current debacle on free speech as an opportunity to speak out and speak up. Getting 1,000 likes. Let's see here. Shayuna says, quote, this man is the new UN Women's UK delegate. Katie Neves has been appointed to the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, which promotes women's empowerment across the world. Which, I mean, I would have thought some people would thought that would be sexist if you have a biological man now in charge of women empowerment. Or maybe it's ironic. But it looks like this individual is going to attempt to play the guitar. And this could be comical. We'll play it.
There once was a girl at the age of 3, told her mum, this is how I want to be. Her mum said, no, you're a boy, you know it's how it's meant to be. Soon may transition come to bring me blockers and hormones, mum. Why won't you listen to me? I want to be happy.
I know your ears are... My ears aren't bleeding technically. It's just so morally, mentally vacuous, disgusting. It almost feels like my ears should be bleeding. I mean, not only is this individual's voice worse than mine, which is saying something, but yeah, a 3-year-old. This is the person in charge of women's empowerment at the United Nations, which is an entity in and of itself. It's just redundant, and I would argue probably did more bad than good. There's only about 36 seconds left, so I apologize, but we'll suffer through it together. Now, thankfully, you don't have to see this individual because then your eyes might bleed.
The girl grew up and her voice grew deep. Her mum saw her unhappiness creep. Her mum said, I know you're a...
Wait a minute. Let me rewind that. So why would the voice... so is this person saying the person... Because, I mean, your voice goes down when you're a boy and you grow up. So is, off the bat, is this individual saying the person born a boy was actually a girl? I think that's what they're implying with the vernacular there. We'll scroll back. Let's say, go back to the part where it says, why don't you listen with me? Well, because you're 3. No responsible parent on the planet would listen to a 3-year-old, would let them call the shots. I mean, it's almost a cliche note to bring it up, but you don't let a kid get a tattoo. You don't let a kid drink. You don't let kids smoke. You don't let them stay out late with their friends if they're 3 years old. This is the one topic where they're saying, oh yeah, we're going to listen to the kids. Never before in history have parents been this vacuous mentally, or perhaps they're just cowards because they're worried because, again, culturally speaking, some people bully the parents. In some countries, they'll take the kid away, like in Canada. They'll kidnap your kid from you if you don't acquiesce to what the kid thinks is right. But again, kids do not understand long-term negative ramifications. All these drugs that they're pumping these kids in with are there's no long-term test for them. I mean, some of them are legit drugs used to castrate sex offenders. They're given to children. There are some people who genuinely think that's a good idea. And while I'm not, I certainly definitely have my opinion and my bias. It's one of the few things where I can 110% say there's no conceivable way that I would ever allow that to happen if I were to someday be blessed with a family.
Why won't you listen to me? I want to be happy.
Even after transitioning, this person, maybe some in the comments might say I'm jealous because this individual has much better hair than mine. This individual's hair is quite long and what you call it, luscious, so there's lots of it. Perhaps, but the voice not matching the image is quite interesting.
The girl grew up and her voice grew deep. Her mum saw her unhappiness creep. Her mum said, I know you're a girl, I'll support you all the way.
So because the kid's unhappy, you're supposed to let them do whatever they want. This is almost, no, this is, I was about to say it's almost as bad. This is much worse, but you also have those irresponsible parents where a kid cries and you just give them candy, which again, America's the most obese country on the planet. Don't reinforce that by just giving your kid candy. You're just like rewarding a tantrum. I think that's perhaps one of the greatest reasons society and culture of America has decayed so much, by parents pretending like they're the kid's friend and not the parent. But I partially digress.
Soon may transition come to bring me blockers and hormones, mum. At last I am the real me, and now I am happy. And now I am happy.
A kid drinking what do they call it, a tub or quart of ice cream, they'll be happy for a second. Not long term, though. Usually they'll throw up, they'll gain weight. And the statistics have shown, and unfortunately, this is a little bit of a dark topic because some people will take their own lives. The rate at which they do that is the same regardless of the transition procedures, which again, to me, indicates that's not the solution. I would say compassion and proper support from the parents, not, I was going to say, heaven forbid you take them to a therapist these days, since a lot of the therapists are going to push this on them. 10 seconds left. Wow. Perhaps another offense, it's a fade out. So 1990s. And the last text on the screen says, trans people are just ordinary people who want to be happy. And it has kids' fonts saying, cool trans. That's who's in charge of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women and promoting women empowerment. I'm actually surprised they didn't go more viral. That got 136 likes in the comment section. Now, scrolling down more and more, you have one bad dude saying, quote, this, and it says Dr. Seuss in the text on the made-up book says, if you're born with a dick, then you're not a chick, unquote, getting 1,000 likes. Red Wave Press says, quote, awesome news. I hope more people stand up against men in women's sports. Follow if you agree, unquote, getting 320 likes. So it went, let's see here. Scrolling more and more, seeing if there's, I don't know the wording though. Seeing if there's more contrarian statements or comments. Because again, there are a lot of people who want her in jail because of this. They don't want her to have free speech. They don't want any of us to have free speech. Let's see here. Let's see. Well, and again, there's going to be a bias. These are people who are already following J.K. Rowling. And scrolling more and more, it just seems overwhelming support. Now, that being said, at the end of the day, people need to get out and vote appropriately, actually check the background and the voting patterns of whoever you're voting for to see, do they agree with this ideology? Do they agree with free speech? What's their stance on it? Because at the end of the day, most countries have free and fair elections. So, some of them also don't check IDs or require IDs to vote, but that's another issue for another time. But in terms of a short win for J.K. Rowling, she's coming up ahead in this regards, and while she may be losing a lot of prospective clients, there's a lot of people who are smearing her whole legacy. A lot of people saying she's throwing everything away. I can't help but respect someone who, again, I don't agree with everything J.K. Rowling says, but someone who's willing to risk everything to stand what they believe in. That's a rare thing these days, and I think she's on the right path. But as always, let me know in the comments if you're fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, as well as sharing the video with your friends, so it'll help with the YouTube and Rumble algorithms. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.